I've got my COVID mask. Have you got yours? Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of The Lightning Cave. This week I'm just going to talk about No Man's Sky and a little bit about video game TV. Now, essentially, I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. I started my series, as you'll see here, of me streaming the Surge. And the idea is I'm going to get through all my PS4 games that I've got left to play. Then all of a sudden, in came No Man's Sky into my life, like a meteor crashing into the earth, and took me completely by surprise because I didn't think I was going to like this game at all, and I love it. I absolutely bloody love it. Um, you might be in the same position as I was 2 weeks ago, and you're thinking, "No, this game is not for me." I read all the bad reviews, and I heard it's been refreshed and it's really good now, but it's still not for me. The game isn't for me. You might think that it's all about grinding in space. You might think that space exploration isn't for you. You might think it's I don't know, and now it's like an MMO game. Um, I'm going to tell you why I love it, what it does well, and why it should appeal to pretty much every gamer. The only thing it doesn't have in abundance is combative gameplay, but you can upgrade your tools and things to become guns, so you can start to fight things later in the game. So there is an element of fighting, and there are space battles as well, but I'll go on to that in a minute. You might know nothing about this, so this is just going to be a real quick video about what it is now, because obviously I never played the original bugged and glitched version, and why you should just give it a go, because I think you can pick it up for like less than 10 quid everywhere now. And in the last 4 years, the developers have done tons of free updates, which have made this an absolutely amazing game to play on your own or with friends. You're thrown into the game. I'm playing on survival mode, so it's like kind of, I guess, medium mode because there's an extra bar above, which well then there's permadeath, so that's probably a bit too difficult. But you get thrown in, you don't really get told what to do. You start off like a hazardous planet, and essentially you've got to start, and you've got to collect materials to keep yourself alive. So like stuff like sodium you could get from plants and by mining, and you have a mining laser, and you get that to keep your hazardous life systems, like the stuff that's stopping you from dying, basically. And you get oxygen to keep your like health up, right? So there's health, and then there's like hazard protection, and there's armor. Now I had the guys help me start off to kind of show me along what to do, maybe find materials when I couldn't find them. And it does take a couple of hours to get into, but you can, like I said, you can play with friends, so you can jump in and out of each other's worlds. It's very, very easy. We did it with a PC, a PS4, and an Xbox, and it worked amazingly well. The only thing we had a bit of a problem with was the game chat because we were doing it through Discord, but that's just cross-platform life. And a couple of times it drops out, but no, overall it works really well. And I can imagine if you're playing it all on one system, then you wouldn't have any of those issues. Anyway, so you get thrown in and you have to repair your ship, and then you grab your ship and you fly. The aim is to fly off into space and start these missions. What I really liked is that they pepper you with single player missions, but it doesn't affect your multiplayer experience. So the only real reason the single player missions are to introduce you to new game mechanics, such as building or um, how to reveal things on the planet, or for example, a few missions in you unlock this kind of multiplayer hub. So it's all leading you on to further game mechanics. And all of the mechanics are very surface level, but when you start to dive into them, they're really, really deep. There's a real care being taken over everything in this game that I feel. And I feel like I feel. I think you can go really deep and get really nerdy about everything that this game has got to offer. Even like when you scan the environment to find the materials you need to survive, they're done with the periodic element signs. I don't know what they're called. The periodic me. So anyway, so there's lots of nerdiness going on. And then there's the scope of the game. So the idea of the game is to survive, to build a kind of almost like habitate these barren worlds, to build up your buildings, And then obviously, I guess, main to make a town. And like I said, you can have your friends jump in, you can all build stuff together, and it's really fun. The scope is insane because there are like hundreds of star systems and solar systems in this game. And you could, once you land to hyperdrive, you can just jump anywhere you want. And you go into a planet, and everywhere I've been so far is very different to the other. Some planets are pretty much livable, and you can go in without being hurt too much. But there are always these sentinels on each planet, so they don't like you changing what's there. So they're there to hunt you down. Okay. Um, there are planets which are really cold, frozen tundras as it were. So you're getting killed by it being too cold. There are planets which have acid rain. There are planets which is just like overall toxic. So you go in, you're constantly dying because you're not in safe air. But as soon as you get the kind of building mechanics, you build a building. As soon as you're inside, it's safe. So the aim is to kind of habitate these planets so you can travel around collecting different materials safely to then progress the rest of your story. And then the other really great thing on top of it is not only is the single player mission focused on introducing you to new mechanics, it has got a story. So you wake up, your character, and you have no recollection of what's happened before. And slowly through the story, you're introduced and you find out that you were stranded, and there are other people who are looking for you, and you're looking for them. You start to use these new mechanics and things that you've learned to kind of progress your way towards them. You know, you can travel through black holes, you can hyperdrive, you can build signal boosters to help you find people, and it all starts to come together really well. On top of that, on top of being able to explore every planet. So I'll talk a little bit more about why I love that so much, because I'm just happy just to go in onto a planet and just mess around for hours. And I've done it by myself. I've done it with Zeke and Luke. But what I like is you go in, you can scan stuff, and it reveals more properties of that thing. So you can mine it, and then instead of getting just oxygen, you get like oxygen and carbon, and then the carbon is used to build something else. You need everything to keep building constantly. So you've got to keep building your hyperdrive fuel. You've got to keep building your takeoff fuel for your ship. You've got to keep building stuff for the buildings. You've got to keep crafting stuff to keep yourself alive. And it's constant. You have to even keep your mining laser fueled, because if it runs out, you have to like Minecraft it and start hitting stuff. You go anywhere and and as soon as you unlock the mining tool, you can just mine through anything. So you can just mine all the way down into the earth, and it's not pointless. So sometimes, I'll just for materials, there are buried technology in each planet. So you have to go find the buried technology, which then gives you more chances. Well, that's basically the way you unlock more building structures, more walls, more doors, more windows, or whatever it is you want to build next. And also there are like deposits of materials, so you have to go in find copper deposits to then you have to refine the copper to get another material, blah 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 blah. It all kind of feeds into itself. Each planet, like I said, is really fun. There are training outposts to go and talk to aliens, and you have to learn the aliens' languages, so you can't just talk to them. You have to learn it word by word. At the moment, it's word by word, which I think is going to be a very lengthy task. But hopefully, it becomes a bit quicker than that. So you've got all this stuff to do on planets. You can even ride at the animals on the buildings, and eventually you can unlock vehicles to craft and ride and use on the planets. Really awesome. Then you go to space. In space, you just said you eventually unlock this multiplayer hub, where basically you can meet up. You're given extra quests. You're given many more opportunities to learn new things on your ship, on where you can craft, what you can do on planet, and also there's space battles. So pirates will attack you. You just have to take them down. Sometimes there are freights, and I actually did a mission where, well, it was a distress signal from a freighter, FREIGHTER, that. And essentially, they distress signaled me and said, "Look, come and help us out." And I did, and they gave me access to it for free. So now I've got this freighter in space that I can build a new base on, store multiple ships, and then my next aim is to get a new ship, a better ship. And I'm only I don't know, I played it quite a lot last week, and for me anyway, like 15 hours. That's a lot for me on one game in a week. And I just can't get enough. I still want to keep playing it. I'm getting to a point where I'm trying to play it just multiplayer because I'm very funny with games where you have to you have to build up just to craft more. And I don't want to become like that. I don't know if I will. I'm not saying it will happen, but I don't want to go too far ahead and go out. Actually, I'm just grabbing materials to build a bigger building for no real purpose. But like I said, there's a story to carry on with. Basically, just get it and play it with friends. Like I said, you can cross play with any device you're on. And there's a huge, and I'm not, like I said, I'm just at the beginning of this, and I know there's so much more. Like you can wake up to massive ships. You can employ people to come work on your bases eventually. Like I said, you can get terrain vehicles. The idea is just to keep building and habitating planets and kind of becoming like a bit of a baron in space. So you're kind of your base is on all these planets which you kind of own, and then you can go all the places you need to go to get the materials, come back, sell it, get more money, and yeah, it's awesome. So I didn't think I was going to like No Man's Sky, and if this was a review at the moment, I would give it like a 9 out of 10 because I'm just enjoying it so damn much. The single player does not affect your multiplayer experience at all. It's like, and the way that they join up is so clever because you don't need one for the other to work. And I've never played a game where the multiplayer and single player are so fluid and work so well together. You can play with each other for 2 hours and not be on the same planet, but it's still a fun experience. Or you can meet up and you can start to build stuff, or you can both proceed with your single player games, or you can go and find ships together, or not, or you can go and find them separately. You can be on different solar systems. But once you unlock the multiplayer hub, it becomes much easier to travel to each other. So you can help each other out with whatever you're looking for, or if you're trying to progress your story, if one of you is looking for black holes, this has actually happened, and the other one has already been somewhere where there is one, or the other player can go there, you can kind of jump to them, and bingo bango, you're proceeding quicker with the story. So yeah, I'm honestly take my recommendation and pick up this game. You won't regret it. I just really want to briefly talk about the news of the Fallout TV series. At the moment, there's only been a teaser, and it's Amazon Prime Video. I am so excited about this news because the Witcher series has showed us even that video games should be made as series. Now we, as video game fans, probably knew that already, and I know they've been done before, but I think The Witcher was just so spot on. And I know it was based on the book. But if it wasn't for the success of The Witcher 3, I don't think this series would have got made. The prospect of a series for video games is much better than movies because in a movie you've got like maximum 2 hours to cram all this stuff in, and we've all seen the majority of the comic book films, and 90% of them completely suck, and 10% of them are okay. None of them, apart from Mortal Kombat, are amazing, arguably. And I'm happy that we're in this age that that we kind of started with HBO, I would say. And then went on to Netflix and Prime Video, where people were given much more of an opportunity and a bigger budget for TV series, which allows them to explore a character over like 6 or 10 episodes instead of just 2 hours. So you're giving them so much more time, 10 hours instead of 2 hours, basically, to make a story, and then it gives them much more scope to go on and do a second series. Whereas a movie, if it bombs in the first movie, you're not going to get a second one. No one's getting a second Assassin's Creed Michael Fassbender, are they? I am excited by the prospect of the Fallout series. I hope that, not hope, but I don't want it to be just about the Vault Dweller. I think it would be really cool to have multiple stories in that world. So maybe have someone who's, like a scientist and someone else who's like a raider. I don't want them to humanize these people. I want, the raiders to stay as bad guys, for example. And maybe have someone else who's like a settler. And I just think if they do it in that way, not just focus on one story where the Vault Dweller, wakes up from a cryo sleep, or they accidentally get let out of the vault, or whatever the story is going to be. If they have multiple stories and make it more of a kind of interchanging series, where each episode you get a bit of each someone's story, like Game of Thrones. You've got loads of stories going on, but it's very not easy to follow, but it's quite easy to follow. It'd be more exciting, make more of a show, which could then lead them to more and more things. So I'm sure it's going to be done well. I'm also really excited about Lord of the Rings series. I just want to say that. And yeah, I hope we get many more video game series to come. But let's see how like Fallout 1 does, and Last of Us before we get too excited. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and keep tuned for all your video game news, reviews and opinions, and everything else, streams, and catch me on my streams of currently The Surge, then The Surge 2, and whatever else I've got left to play on the PS4. See you soon.